am your host, Reverend Dr. Rodney Coles, and this site is about bringing information to our community, what's happening, how you could be a part of this community. So we want to welcome you to this broadcast. We just thank you for taking the time to watch us. And today we have another special guest on this broadcast, Mrs. Virginia Garcia. Let me say a little bit about her. This woman wrote a poetry, Lord have mercy, that she read it on Martin Luther King with our interfaith clergy. I want to thank Pastor Eve Rogers for setting that all up. She has a heart of helping. Her husband have a heart of helping. They're from a family that in this area in Greenville continue. So it's my pleasure, my honor to even have her on this show with me today. Actually, I've been here 15 years, and this is the first time we had a conversation. Ain't that something? Miss Garcia, welcome to the broadcast.
Well, thank you. I am. I'm almost speechless. The introduction, I will try to be worthy of that, but I appreciate being here, and I thank you for allowing me to talk just a little bit about our organization.
Now, before I get into the organization, there's a lot of things you do. You just have gifts in you. You share with the audience who you really are.
Well, I am Regina Yvette Carter Garcia. I was born in El Paso, Texas, but I've been in Greenville since I was about 4. My family's from Eastern North Carolina, and so I've matriculated through Pitt. Well, actually, when I went through school, it was Greenville City Schools, and I think I'm dating myself. I won't get into that, but it was Greenville City Schools, which is now Pitt County Schools, and and then I went on to the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. I received a degree in speech communication with a focus in the oral interpretation of literature. I also went to East Carolina University, where I received a master's degree and a graduate certificate in multicultural and transnational literature. I am currently employed at Pitt Community College, where I'm an English professor. I also am a global programs coordinator for our college. Work with multicultural activities, and I didn't anticipate, necessarily talking so much about myself, but you asked, so here I am, and I am married and have 3 wonderful sons, and I used to say 3 wonderful children, but they're kind of, I've only got one in the house right now, so, and he's a senior in high school, so.
Wow,
yeah.
I mean, just to hear, I've seen you and I've seen your work, and I just wanted to say that I appreciate the things you do. I'm very honored to know and with the things you do, especially to be in education, female, African American. There's so much is lost in our tradition today, especially with the new moms being up here. I don't know what it is. Sometimes I feel like I'm in the twilight zone and seeing what they not understanding the knowledge, the education, and how to move forward in life, and just to hearing out, even with your poems and the things you wrote out there, it just has. It's like it brings life, and I just want to tell you thank you for that. Sometimes you don't know people watching you or people seeing what you're doing, and they normally say things at a funeral. But Grandma said, tell people where they are alive. Let them smell their flowers now. That was what Grandma always tell me.
That's right. Now you're talking about grandmamas. Now I did look. You're about to make me go up. I think about my own grandmothers, and I certainly do connect with that. I do believe that education is a wonderful vehicle for success, and I am one of the reasons that I am so fortunate to be a part of NCNW is because that is certainly one of our initiatives to promote education, to support educational systems so that they can really help to move people along in our community. And I'm going to just give Pitt Community College a shameless plug here because that is part of that mission as well, to educate and empower. And so as first vice president of our area section, I feel honored to be a part of the establishment of programs in the community that focus on that. So So again, I say thank you, and you touched. Yeah, I hear you keep talking about my writing. I appreciate that too. I love to write. Writing is inspirational. I am a poet in my heart, inspired by many other great writers as well. And so, yeah.
And I will say that reading, when you read that on MLK Day this year, and it was just an inspiration, the words you just say, poetry has a way of bringing things alive like a song. When we listen to music, we can cry, we can laugh, we can think.
Hmm.
When we listen to the music, it does something to the spirit as many times. But even with poetry, when you listen to it and the way that you edified the words and how it went out and how it touched, it put a shock and make you think. And you're right, education is so important. And most people don't realize how important education is.
Right.
We need education as well as we need legislation. But that education, what we need, and as scripture tells us, and you from the whole family of the Bible, is about Hosea 4:6. That stays so strong when it was written. My people, because of that,
Right.
they're destroyed. Just because of that.
Right.
And
Right.
so sometimes incorrupt teaching brings incorrupt learning.
Oh my goodness.
And we keep on going to the same thing and not understanding how important is education.
Right.
It is. Right now, I say this, and it's on there, I'm just very open, is right now I can't wait to this pandemic because I know that children is not getting what they need to get when they're in front of a teacher to give you that type of information. You're not going to get from the church unless you're in front of it. The Bible says when two or three are gathered, he said in the midst. He said we use on Facebook.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You know what I'm
Right.
saying? So it's something with the music. So
Right.
see, the Spirit just moved me.
Right. I see. Right. Right. And all of this works together. When we think about teaching, when we think about art, things like writing, things like painting, dancing, all of that, the service that we do in the community, the way we treat one another, all of these experiences, are actually vehicles for education. I think, many people talk about a lack of education. I think what is even more dangerous than a lack of education is miseducation. And so it's really important for people who are not afraid to entertain multiple perspectives in order to find the truth, to find their way into venues, be they classrooms or churches or organizations or whatever organizations they may or venues they may choose to go to or affiliate with. It is important for people to carry the truth with them because education should at its very core be the truth. And so the truth is what we need to focus on as we educate. We also need to meet people where they are. I teach at the college. I always say that I teach at the college, but many times I have students who come into my space, and right now my space is virtual, like many other spaces, and they really do need to have someone who can meet them where they are. Especially now as we're having students, we're several months into this pandemic right now, and we're having students who maybe missed a few things, and so we want to present them and bring them back quickly to the place where they can be secure in their learning, be confident in what they're learning. And so I think that is a really important conversation now. And when I hear you mention the students who are attending school, some of them online, and we recognize that there are some people who are wanting to pursue education who are going to school, but they don't necessarily have the resources to be online. It's more than just having a computer and some Wi-Fi. Sometimes it's about having support. Sometimes it's about having a space that is secure enough that learning is not difficult. Sometimes it's about having a motivator because online or virtual learning does require that motivation not just from the side of the screen with the teacher, but also from that side of the screen with the student, especially younger students. So you're right. It is important that we are working towards a way that we can kind of reconvene with those that we need to reconvene with in order to get the truth out and get the learning going. And I could talk about this all day, but I know I'm here to talk about GPCAS,
Okay,
NCNW,
all right.
but that's all right.
We're going to jump
because
right
we
on
might
into
go to
it.
church in a minute.
Amen.
So.
Well, let's talk about NCNW, and I know a history of it, but I want you to give us, and that's why we're here today. But first, I couldn't let this go, and knowing that all this education, you like a walking encyclopedia, things you have, and I have learned, and I say this on national TV, and I say it every meeting. If you're the smartest one in your group, you better get you a new group. I'm telling you right now, because if you're looking to be, as the word would say, if you're looking to play this heavy role in the area, I won't use that word here because some people don't understand it. But the point is, if you're looking to play heavy, then you need to go in a different direction. But you're the smartest one in your group. If you're looking for the word called intimacy, then go get you a dog and cat. But if you're looking of getting further in life, you need to be around folks who have understanding.
Right.
Because I believe, and I'm going to stop here because we're going to go right there. I believe that all of us are here for each other.
That's right.
I believe that you got a piece to the puzzle. I got a piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely.
And we got to bring our pieces together.
Right.
We are here for each other.
Right.
And I'm going to pause there for we be having the service.
And I just want to say, while we're on that vein, about us being here for each other, you are a great man in this community as well. And we appreciate everything you do, in regards to meeting people where they are and kind of sensing what needs to happen in order for people to move up. When Jesus was asked, what Lord, what should I do? Feed my sheep. And so that is just a really important concept, something we can carry with us. And, it even extends, in studies outside of biblical text, when you think about even Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and how in that pyramid, at the base of the pyramid, is that those basic needs of food and water and just those things that are just needed for survival. Sometimes people can't hear and can't receive if they hungry. If my stomach, you know how I feel.
Come on.
If my stomach is grumbling, I can't hear what you're saying. I really cannot.
Feed me first, then we pray.
Then we can pray. we could talk about some things. Know me, and then we can talk about some things. I need to trust you, so that what you tell me, I can receive and integrate, and then go out into the groups that I belong to, and really spread that whole that whole concept of being holistically sound.
Well, I'm going to say thank you for my flowers. To God be the glory. I truly believe a personal touch is always better than a preaching word.
That's right.
Because we can just be able to be with him
That's
and meet
right.
him. I tell you, we're going to have 2 shows here. Let's think about the NCNW. They do so many great works.
Well, I will start with NCNW was actually founded by a great woman that many of us have heard of, Dr. Mary McLeod Bethune, one of the founders of Bethune-Cookman. And she, in 1935, came together, she came together just to start this organization. It's called an organization of organizations, of women who would address the needs of their communities, just wherever they were located. And so when we think about NCNW, we think about NCNW as an entity, but it is actually affiliated with many other organizations and women from other organizations and women not from other organizations as well, but women from other organizations have come in, joined together under that banner of sisterhood and now brotherhood, and I'll mention something about that too, but came together under that banner of sisterhood and a desire to move the community forward. And so when we're thinking about 1935 and we're thinking about the conditions of that time, we recognize that NCNW, which stands for the National Council of Negro Women, came together to address the needs of the African Americans within society, and particularly women and the family. And so when you say women in the family, then that ends up being everybody, right? And so we, the cause was, and the cause still is, a very noble cause, in that they didn't just look at it as one thing they would do. They actually looked at it as what areas can we impact in order to make lives better, because when mama's okay, she can make everything all right. That's kind of, that concept. What is it? If mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy.
Nobody's happy.
Right. And so while it is not singularly focused on women, and while it is not always singularly focused on just African Americans, they recognize in its inception, it was recognized that this particular body of people really needed to be able to move forward so that we as a people could move forward. So in that, we have identified areas in which we desired to better people, in which we decide to use as that vehicle for betterment. So we look at things, and it's called for the Future. That's our kind of national program banner, that for the future. And in for the future, education is addressed, particularly STEAM, science, technology, engineering, arts, and math, right? Very important areas for young people to look at and to become proficient in, because as we know, and especially as we know right now in this virtual climate, that those areas are really important for our future, and perhaps even we can encourage some children to go into those areas in order to impact change and to have a presence and to be a voice in the room. We also focus on financial literacy and entrepreneurship, as well as health, the holistic health, physical, mental, emotional, that kind of thing. And then the family, and community service and civic engagement and social justice. Going back to Mary McLeod Bethune's recognition that really, we have to kind of get our house in order and really strive for equal footing within the community, so we can have the best impact in our community. That was true then. That is true now. Right. Okay.
One of the things I want to say, for females and for years, like, I love the name of the Negro woman. I think about my grandmother. I think about my mother. And I will say this: I probably wouldn't have been the man that I am today, because I didn't have that moms that kind of stood on me. And my grandma, my wife always asked, "Why you cook so much food all the time?" I said, "My grandma said, you never know who's going to come out of the house."
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, you never go to the house without bringing some, these traditions. But I want to say, and even as me being a father and a husband, I say this, that I am not the man who I am because of my wife, who brings out the best out of me. And it's so important, because you have a very strong role. You have a very strong role, even when you have a way of working with us to help us better ourselves. Sometimes we are very narrow. Most of us, we're really not the sharpest knife in the drawer, and I'm just gonna say it straight out. But you have a way of balancing us. I mean, there's a balance. I mean, it took me a while to understand that, where we're one, and we have to speak to one another, and it's not a boss in the house. We all on the same string as God. It's just how we balance it. But even to today, when it comes to the females today, where it wasn't because of the female, we won't have churches because y'all keep on going. Most men is not committed and consistent, staying and not keeping on appointments and not doing this, and they make excuses. But it's really to see that it really been the Negro women's of really helping us and making it work, and sometimes we go to an area, and I tell you, even my wife, there's sometimes on decision I know wasn't right, and I try to think of it, and she would bring it. She won't come at you straight out, but she bring it so smooth, like butter on the toast, like make you think about it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's I believe, and I digress a little bit, but I think that's why I love to see good unions. Because in a good union, and the marital union, everybody brings their set of gifts. And so, whereas, and I hear a lot of people focus on, well, the man should take care of everything, or the woman should. But I think what is intended, what God intended, is that we both bring. The man and the woman bring the gifts to the union, and work together in order to make that thing happen. And so, yes, I do think men and women are kind of different in the way that they think, but I don't think one way is more important than the other. I heard a preacher say once, men are like waffles and women are like spaghetti. Men are able to compartmentalize. They put things in boxes in regards to their thinking. I have to do this, so I'm focused on this. Women tend to see the interconnectedness of, one thing to the next, and so in that they're just kind of able to make those connections. And sometimes when we don't understand that about each other, we can say, well, what's wrong with you? Why can't you see that? Well, because we're different people. We're just different, and people are not monolithic. I would like to say, I wouldn't say that every man was, that compartmentalizer, but many are, so I'm speaking just generally.
Yeah, and it just when it comes to the females, they have a way and just help us kind of understand certain things, in life. I mean, when you have the right wife, the right mate, and I've been there before that I was married before, and it wasn't right, and it was things that happened, and I had to listen to the Spirit of God, and it wasn't right. It wasn't why I married the person at the beginning, it wasn't in the line, and I wasn't saved, and I learned that you had to pray for your husband, or pray for your wife, and allow the Lord to give you that. And that was something that I don't know nothing about drugs. I don't know nothing about sports. I'm illiterate with sport. I don't know who played the Super Bowl this year. I mean, these people call me, ask.
Are they gonna have the Super Bowl this year? I know. Right.
But when it came to the understanding that, it was something that I think it was Pat LaBelle. We got to have two shows here today because we ain't gonna finish this one here. So we gotta go finish on it. And we're gonna do it today.
Okay.
But it was Patty LaBelle that when she said that, and I love Patty, I followed her, and she said, she was unhappy. She was married for 34 years, but she was unhappy for 15 years, and it just had to move on. But you understand that even in marriage, you got to make sure you have the right woman. She had to make sure she had the right man, and that's that bond. And sometimes we get caught up. I have seen some men I know that have been married 3-4 times, and I ask myself the question: it cannot be something wrong with the house, or something wrong with you, because you're in the same house going to different rooms, and we're not examining ourselves to make sure we're right. And that's where the wives comes in, and they help us. They help focus us. I would say this, in that I would not become the man that I am today without my grandma, without my mother. And today, as I'm standing and sitting in this chair, without my wife, Deborah, who's in my life. Because when I say we're moving to North Carolina, what the first thing she said, you got to follow whatever God tells you to do, and been a supporter of what you have to do day in and day out. And that takes a lot. And listen, I don't think I would have left,
Right.
I'm saying I'm gonna be in that box. Listen, I'm fine right here, and we're doing good here in New York, and it's fine. But and then to pick up and say, I'm going to leave with you. But we're going to pause on the show because we got to do another one.
Okay.
Amen. Listen, I want to thank you. We're going to call it part 2 on this show. The Spirit is here, and we ain't going to let it go. Mike, we're going for part 2. Thank you. I'll see you in a few minutes.